The president of the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, Johnbosco Uche, has cautioned that Nigeria's oil production could decline sharply in the coming years unless new exploration and discoveries are urgently pursued. Speaking ahead of NAPE's 43rd Annual International Conference in Lagos, Uche said sustained exploration is vital for long-term energy security and economic stability. He stressed the need for policy alignment, investment incentives, and renewed exploration in mature basins to meet Nigeria's 2030 target of 3 million barrels of oil and 12 billion cubic feet of gas per day. Uche also urged accelerated gas development as a transition fuel for industrial growth and cleaner energy. Joining us now to unpack this is Bolarinwa Durojaiye, oil and gas technologist. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, and concerns and pretty much a threat expressed here. How urgent is this threat of Nigeria's oil production decline, and what timelines are industry experts projecting?
Great question. It's all a question of horizon, really. Interestingly, because more recent developments point to an uptick. Obviously, this is aside from the slight decline we've seen in September, but really we're looking at about 1.7 million barrels of oil daily production generally, apart from the September momentary decline. So the near-time horizon looks good. We have seen FDIs, that are promising 200 to 300,000 barrels in addition to what we already have, by 2028-ish. So that nearer-term horizon looks positive. But when you look beyond 2030, you start to see that we are simply not exploring enough at the moment to address what is inevitably, a decline in production potential by then. Globally, you look at about 6 to 8% natural decline per year in oil production, and you start to see that, for instance, the activity and the increased production, the short-term increased production we're seeing now is adding about 200 to 300 barrels of oil, which effectively is about 2 to 3 years of decline. But if insufficient exploration activity and investment is the case between now and 2030, then beyond 2030 we may be looking at a significant decline. So that is what is being addressed by by NAPE's warning in this case.
Foresight and long-term planning. We've seen a lot of policies, regulation come up, reforming the sector. And sometimes with these reforms, some people may perceive some sort of instability or slow down because, companies have to adjust to regulation. What specific policies do you think the government should introduce to attract new exploration investment in Nigeria's oil and gas sector and accelerate that?
So sometimes, what you need for change is not necessarily something transformational. I would say, for instance, you look at the PIA and the investment posture post-PIA has been positive. So it can be said that we're actually on the right track. Generally speaking, one wants to focus more on, removing stubborn roadblocks. Things like oil theft, for instance, are being robustly addressed. The picture now is substantially different from what it was as recently as 2-3 years ago. So some of these things, I would say, applying the PIA and focusing, on essentially keeping the momentum we have right now, and we are seeing the results. PIAs of $8 billion, sorry, FIDs of $8 billion are no mean, achievement. It's a signal from the investment community of confidence, of long-term viability, especially in deep offshore.
Yeah, so a lot of announcements. How can Nigeria perhaps even balance? We know that the energy transition is a big deal right now in the sector, globally when it comes to best practices. So how do you think Nigeria can also balance that global energy transition with its need to also sustain petroleum production for national revenue?
Yeah, that's a good question. As a lot of analysts have been saying recently, for Nigeria, it's not a question of or, it's a question of and. So we are looking at massive hydrocarbon deposits and assets, and at the same time, we're looking at a cleaner future. And I would say that the bridge essentially here is gas. So again, we are quite well positioned, in our aspirations, 12 billion standard cubic feet of gas by 2030, and pushing towards this. Well, we know that gas is a cleaner energy source, will help us achieve, revenue targets, as well as push towards, that kind of cleaner future and compliance with some of these net zero goals. Yeah.
And I think I've heard you say before, Nigeria is more of a gas-rich nation than oil-rich nation. Let's come to the goals being set now for 2030. How realistic is Nigeria's target of producing 3 million barrels of oil and 12 billion cubic feet of gas per day by 2030? Are we, reaching too far for the stars?
They say shoot for the stars and maybe you'll get the sky. So, these are good aspirations. Are they realistic? It depends on how you define realistic. Clearly, we're going to need substantially more investment than we're currently seeing now. So if we follow the current trajectory, it's going to be challenging. We need a massive uptick in investment. And what NAPE is saying is we need more fines, okay, beyond, most of the fines that we're looking to develop now are fines as far back as 1950, 1960, which is, it's a whole new conversation. We have existing potential that we have not been able to develop based, due to so many roadblocks on the fiscal and regulatory side, which are being cleared right now. But beyond that, we need new exploration, we need new finds, and that is what can position us to achieve these kind of aspirational targets. Is it possible? Never say never, but we need to do something different.
Indeed. And we know that to optimize efficiency, any sector, every sector, we're looking at how we can use technology and data. So for this sector, with these goals that are being set, how can technology and data innovation also play in all of this to revive Nigeria's declining exploration capacity?
So, AI, IoT, digital twins, all of these capabilities, quantum computing, all of these things generally help to, give you a clearer picture of what you're working with in terms of de-risking investment decisions in these mature basins. Technology will definitely play a huge role. Real-time operations, the more you're able to sustain production and mitigate unplanned outages, cut operational costs, by, being smarter in terms of maintenance. It all contributes to the big picture. So yes, technology has a really big role to play.
And we are seeing, of course, a lot of, especially onshore Nigerian companies take over. But the role of international oil companies, how committed are they to Nigeria's exploration and production? What are we seeing in that regard?
Well, recent developments point to a keen interest by the IOCs. The FIDs that we're celebrating now are from them, albeit more towards the offshore. As we know, we've seen a lot of divestment activity from onshore fields, and their strategic focus now seems to be more on offshore, but they're not going anywhere, clearly. So are they still interested? Oh, absolutely. Interestingly, also the indigenous and independent oil producers that took up these onshore assets are driven by massive ambition, and to a substantial extent, they have demonstrated, their ability to deal with some of the knotty issues that the IOCs were unable to solve in these onshore assets. So it's a win, really. The post-divestment picture is positive. We are seeing production uptick both in the oil and in the gas spectrums. So altogether, we're on the right track. We just need to move quicker, move smarter, and move faster.
All right, and hopefully we see just that. Oil and gas technologist Bolarinwa Durojaiye, thank you so much for your time this morning on the show.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right.